There is one quality that is mentioned in the ancient Vedanta that determines the entire direction of your life. Not your habits, not your discipline, not even your goals, but one quality that most people never develop. Over a decade ago, I lost someone who was very close to me. That suffering sort of broke everything in me, and that led me to a question that I could not ignore. What is that which truly matters in life? Not what someone expected of me, not what society demanded, but what is actually real and what is just noise. That question eventually led me to discovering the ancient Vedanta, and Vedanta in turn helped me develop this one quality more and more throughout the years. And once you gain the complete in-depth understanding of this quality throughout this video, you will never live your life the same way ever again. Because once your decisions change, your life changes automatically. Shankaracharya considered this as the primary qualification for a seeker, without which nothing else would make sense. So before you manifest anything, before you set a single goal, before you take any decision, you need to understand this thoroughly. And nobody talks about this. Now with this, let's come to a story. There were two brothers. They had the same father, they had the same childhood. But after a few decades, both of these brothers end up in two very different places. One of the brothers becomes extremely successful, extremely wealthy. He builds a great family for himself, and he was the first brother who was living his life ideally. At the same time, the other brother, the second brother, was in a totally different place. He was an alcoholic. Because of that, he was depressed. He was not able to focus on his work. That took him to poverty. Because of the lack of money, he began indulging in various activities and he ended up in jail. And in this situation, one of the people who knew these brothers from long ago went to visit them. First, they go to the second brother to meet him in the jail, and they asked him, "What happened? Why did you end up here?" And the second brother said, "It's because of my father. My father was an alcoholic. He was very abusive. He didn't take care of my mother and me and my brother in the right way. He was never working and he always treated us badly. This influenced me a lot. This is why I ended up becoming an alcoholic, and this is why my life turned this way." After this, that old relative goes to the first brother and they ask him, "How did you end up being so successful?" For this, the first brother said, "It's because of my father. My father was an alcoholic. My father was abusive. He never worked and he never treated us in the right way. This made me become very clear that I should not be like this. I should be a better spouse, I should be a better parent, and I should do something worthwhile with my life. So my father is the reason because of which I'm successful today." Two brothers, same input, the same childhood, the same father, but two very different outcomes. What is the reason for this? The reason is Viveka. Viveka is what differentiates winners from losers. Viveka is what differentiates a happy person and a joyful person from a miserable person. Viveka determines how you perceive reality, how you react to things, how you respond to situations, and the decisions you take. And Adi Guru Shankaracharya called Viveka the foundational quality that is needed in a spiritual seeker to even begin this journey. In Sadhana Chatushtaya, the Viveka, Vairagya, Shat Sampatti and Mumukshutvam, Viveka comes first. And Viveka means clarity, absolute clarity on what is real, what is unreal, what is the truth, what is untruth, what matters and what doesn't matter. This is so important and this is so significant that Ramakrishna Paramahamsa named Narendra as Vivekananda, because this was what made Vivekananda successful. In a matter of decade, Swami Vivekananda took the essence of Advaita Vedanta and Sanatana Dharma to the entire world. He understood clearly that what was the truth, and he ignored everything that was not in alignment with it. Most people think clarity means having a plan, knowing your goals, break them into steps and execute. That's organization. But Viveka or real clarity is something different. It is the ability to see through the surface of a situation to what is actually real underneath it. And Viveka is not just surface level clarity, but it is deep clarity. Shankaracharya said in Viveka Chudamani, Viveka and the devotion to Viveka is the highest quality that leads to liberation. He places Viveka above rituals, above meditation, and above any practices. Because you might work hard throughout your life, but if you're not working in the right direction, if you don't have clarity, then it doesn't matter and you will never end up in the place you wish to be. Now, Viveka is like a sharp knife that can cut through the noise and that can see the truth for what it is. In the two outcomes that the two brothers experienced, what differentiated, like I said, was Viveka. The same situations, the first brother was able to see it from a higher perspective, from a deeper perspective, and he took that to live in a better way, move towards his ideal life, to his truth. And the same thing applies to each and every one of us. You might be a professional, you might be an entrepreneur, and we all exist in the same world. We are in the same market, we have access to the same opportunities because of the internet. Yet, if one is succeeding and another is not succeeding, it comes back to your Viveka, your clarity on what you want from life, your clarity on what it takes to get there, your clarity on what you need to do next. Viveka applies to someone who is seeking material success as much as it applies to someone who is seeking spiritual liberation. Now, many people comment on our channel asking for different techniques and systems to manifest certain outcomes in life, and there is a pattern that I've observed in these comments. What we teach within Advaita Conscious Society is actually very different. We don't call it manifestation, we call it conscious creation. That's a very different paradigm. Because what happens to most of us is that we come from a place of conditioning. We have goals. Someone says, how can I manifest that specific job in my life? A student might say, how can I manifest that exact rank in my life? Or someone might say, how can I manifest that specific person in my life as my partner? But these are very, very limited, very, very superficial goals. This doesn't come from Viveka. This doesn't come from clarity. Because how do we know that that is what we truly want from life? The first thing we do at ACS when one begins the advanced conscious creation journey is that we first help them discover what they want from life. We call this the life blueprint creation. Through this, one will be able to figure out their swadharma, their place in this world. What is their ideal life and what they need to pursue, and is it in alignment with who they are at a deeper level, or are their goals coming from a place of conditioning because the society asked them to do it or their parents demanded that from them and so on. So first you need to be very clear on your swadharma. That is the clarity on who you need to be, how you need to act and how your life should be. Once that is clear, you should also be clear on what is real and what is unreal. And the logic is very, very simple. Vedanta says anything that is impermanent is unreal, anything that is permanent is real. Money is impermanent. It comes and goes, it keeps flowing. Relationships are also like that. Health is also like that. Body is like that. Mind is like that. But there is an aspect within each and every one of us that is unchanging, that is eternal, that is permanent, which is who we actually are. That is the absolute truth, the unchanging consciousness, the witness that we are, the true essence of who we are. Now that is what we must hold on to if you actually want to attain inner peace and calm and true sense of happiness in your life. Because whenever you cling to something that is impermanent, you will always suffer, because at some point that reality will change. But the true reality within you, if you hold on to that, that will never change. that is always the same. That's the secret to happiness. So we need clarity on the absolute, which is who we are in our essence beyond the body, mind, and all layers of accumulation. We also need clarity on Swadharma, what our purpose is, what should we be doing in this world, and what is our ideal life. Once we get very, very clear on these two dimensions, then we have Viveka. We can make decisions based on these two truths, whether it is in alignment with my Swadharma and whether this is taking me to true happiness, that is my true self. That is how we must understand Viveka. So before you try to create something in your life, before you try to manifest, develop this clarity on who you are and what you actually want from life. And Viveka changes your relationship with life. It changes how you make decisions. It changes your relationship with criticism and failure. And you don't become hard, but you become stable because you know what you're standing on. Once you develop this clarity on what is true and what is untrue, you stop caring about things that are unreal. You just don't pay attention to that anymore. And that gives you a tremendous amount of strength and energy and focus to focus on things that are actually important. So our entire focus as a team is to build Advaita Conscious Society into a global mission, into a global organization, and to fulfill our mission. And everything apart from it is irrelevant for us. If somebody is not in agreement with our mission, we don't care because we know what we want and what we need to pursue. So that level of clarity is something that you need to develop in order to live your life, in order to achieve your ideal life. Now, let's come to the how. How you need to develop Viveka and how you need to practice this. First, you need to study Vedanta thoroughly. You can refer to the translations from Gita Press or Chinmaya Mission or Ramakrishna Mission and go deep into the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads and the works of Adi Shankaracharya. Viveka Chudamani is a very important text that focuses on Viveka. And this will not just be an intellectual exercise for you. Slowly, as you begin to study these teachings, the internal conflicts, the internal conditioning will dissolve and your Viveka develops naturally. And if you don't have time to go through this journey for years, you can even join our community. And we have weekly satsangs and we have so much of resources which can accelerate this understanding. Apart from this, follow this 30-second rule. This is a decision check. Introduce this 3-question framework before making any important decision in your life. Number 1, ask yourself, is this from clarity or conditioning? Number 2, is this aligned with my Swadharma? That is my purpose. Number 3, does this move me closer to truth or further away from truth? And the truth is that you are that unchanging, limitless consciousness beyond the body, mind, and conditioning. So, is it taking you to that truth or is it a distraction away from it?